for your questions.
You had mentioned you recommend how much fish oil per pound of body weight?
For people, an average would be about a half a gram, and that's total omega-3.
Okay.
So you'd look at about a half a gram for every 10 pounds of body weight.
Okay.
So for someone's 100 pounds, it will work out to about 5 grams.
So you're not adding EPA and DHA together to get
That's total omega-3. That number's total omega-3. And they'll give you, any good brand will list that on the label.
And then what determines when you give more? If the
When
person,
people are ill, they
Okay.
have a lot of active inflammation, they haven't seen a piece of fish in about 1,000 years, fishing them in their diet. So normally we kind of load them up, so to speak, and then we will titrate back to a more civilized level.
Okay.
And again, we have to be careful. We may have to go up slowly because that's a lot of oil and a lot of people will not tolerate that.
yeah. I have a granddaughter in Wisconsin who has just discovered, she thinks she has IBS, and it's been a problem for some years. She's a junior in college, so she knows dairy's a problem. She's quit that. So recommending to her the paleo diet would help. Plus
That's where I would
adding
start.
all these things.
Again, I wouldn't even worry about the supplements right away. I would just tell her to start paleo, and she'll probably feel tons better within a month or so.
Okay.
If somebody drinks diet sodas a lot during the day, let's just say 6 diet sodas a day and have ulcerative colitis, would that help them or hurt them?
I'll turn the question back on to you. What do you think?
I think it would personally hurt them.
Yeah.
If they're not drinking any water.
It's not even the water issue.
Okay.
I
So what do
think
you
that.
suggest?
I'd like to comment on that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I think that, and I'll toss it over to Terry. Artificial sweeteners, I do not like them. I do not like them, Sam, and I am. Whether even stevia or whatever, they have no place in the diet. If you want a little bit of sweetness, add honey or something once in a while. Get rid of the artificial sweeteners.
What I want to comment on there is, we've already talked about the inflammatory implications of insulin. Artificial sweeteners biochemically are classed as excitotoxins. They activate glutamate. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter, is the excitatory neurotransmitter. Glutamate and GABA is sort of an opposing pair. GABA is calm, peaceful, go to sleep. And glutamate is screaming, it's a bear, I'm going to die. Glutamate increases cortisol release and almost triples insulin release. And so when you use artificial sweeteners and you're turning on that it's a bear message, and you're releasing more and more insulin to the system, but you don't have a need to fight or run. All you're doing is increasing fat storage and inflammation.
Yeah, with all kidding aside, they're a problem. And interestingly, I had a patient who I said, you may detox, and you're going to start craving this stuff.
Yeah.
You're crazy. I saw them a couple weeks later and said, I couldn't believe how bad I felt, coming off of them. They're kind of drugs.
I feel like I'm hooked on them. Does that
Well,
make
you
sense?
are.
I've never
But you're not
smoked or
kind
anything,
of.
but I feel like I need a good Diet Coke.
Let's rephrase that. You're not
I'm just
kind of.
doing that.
You are hooked on
Okay,
it.
sorry.
But I have confidence
Yeah.
that you will be able to get rid of
Okay,
them.
all right, it just
So
takes some
that's
time.
normal though,
Yeah.
because the effect of releasing
Yeah.
a little cortisol and a lot of insulin makes blood sugars start going down, and then
Okay.
you're going to crave something to bring blood sugars back up, which is a sweet taste, is what you're craving.
Okay.
And that's what you're using for your sweet taste, so you're trapped in a cycle that
Okay.
leads to that craving over and over and over. So.
Any other questions?
So what's your objection to stevia?
Stevia is not quite as bad, but I think sweetness is a very ancient type of stimulant. It may stimulate insulin, even sweetness alone may stimulate insulin secretion, and for sure, at the very least, sweetness stimulates appetite. So if we're taking these things to lose weight and for our health, it seems counterintuitive. What we need to do is get used to less sweetness. I mean, that's it. It may sound harsh, but that's my answer, is we just need to get that out of our system. And it's just like salt. When you use a little less salt, your taste buds will acclimate to that.
I describe the stevia by talking about Pavlov's dogs. think we have learned behaviors. There's nothing in the human food chain that has intense sweetness that doesn't raise blood sugar quickly. And so I think we have this imprinted behavior. We get that intense sweet taste, and primitive brain says, here it comes, release insulin anyway. So I think we get insulin release to anything that tastes sweet, not just to something that raises blood sugar.
I mean, even my nemesis, Dr. Mehmet Oz, even every once in a while he'll come out with a jewel that's worthwhile, and he even came out. And I've been preaching this about sweeteners for years and talking about during, work and blah, blah, blah. And then finally Mehmet Oz says it, Dr. Brasco, we heard that you're not supposed to eat artificial sweeteners. If only I could get on television. Any other questions?
What about sunscreen at the beach? I mean,
Uh,
it's limiting your vitamin D, of course, but if you go out in the morning, you're at the beach on vacation, get your 15-20 minutes in the sun, then throw some sunscreen on so you can spend another 2 hours in the water, or
Well, I have to agree. I think that you have to be sensible, because the only thing worse than not getting sun is getting too much sun.
Right.
And there's all sorts of problems with sunburns. And so if your body's, that's why I like the PAVA, started around this time of year, so that, because you're going to increase your sun exposure. But I am blanking on that I'm having a moment. I'm thinking it's around, like 10 or 10 milligrams, I think. What does it normally come in? It's not a very high dose.
I want to say I want to remember some that's high, it's 500 milligrams. I can't remember.
No, we'll look it up, and this will get everybody to go to Facebook. We're going to look it up, and we're going to put it on our Facebook page, and so that will force you all to go to the Facebook page. How do you look?
so taking the PAVA
I'm not on
would
Facebook.
actually
You
stop
got to
the
get on
sunburns,
Facebook.
or what?
I'm sorry?
Taking the PAVA stops.
Well, it's a natural kind of, it's sunscreen. It sort of protects yourself from it. Pavo used to be used as a topical agent,
Right.
but it had nothing to do with its topical effect. It had to do with the fact it got absorbed. But most of them don't contain PAVA anymore. But I think it's one natural way of doing it, but you don't want to burn in the sun. So after you get that 10 or 15, 20 minutes, then you may want to put some kind of, put something on. They do have natural sunblocks. What are your thoughts on this, Terry?
Yeah, most of the blocks are opaquing agents of some sort, and so, they're not necessarily being absorbed and not having a chemical effect. If you look at the Vitamin D Council website, some of that information is almost useless, because they say stay out for half the time it would take to get pink, and then put your clothes back on. How do you know what's half the time before you get pink?
You can go out and get a burn, and then you have your baseline, right?
Yeah, no answer.
Well, I think that's I think that being half the time, the answer in medicine is just using common sense, and I think what you just described is a very commonsensical way of approaching this problem. Because you are going to be all day. We're not used to being in the sun for that many hours. We have that 2 weeks out of the summer that we do it, so get your 15 minutes and then put on a sunblock. I know there are natural products, so you may want to check out some of those. Any other questions?
The only other comment I had when you're talking about not enough acid in your stomach, we read something about a year ago about apple cider vinegar could help, and every time we got acid reflux or heartburn or whatever, we would do about a tablespoon. I have to do it with warm water because I hate the taste. But I don't want to take it with 8 ounces of water, because then I'm tasting the nasty taste for 8 ounces worth of time. So I would just do like a shot of the ACV and then a little water afterwards, just to get it out of my throat. Killed the acid reflux or whatever within seconds. But since I started the paleo, right, I haven't had acid reflux or indigestion one time. Since day one, I haven't had it at all, not
Yeah.
once.
Again, these are not uncommon. It was actually an observation, and then paleo is not Atkins, but there are certain commonalities. It was actually an article several years ago in one of the medical journals about the people would go on the Atkins program, and all of a sudden Nexium would take a dip in its stock or something. But there is definitely a correlation with our diet and acid reflux and GERD. It's hard to convince people of that, because again, it's a lot easier to pop a pill, but this is, case in point. Other question, guys?
Quick, one more. Probiotics, any benefit to being enteric coated?
I don't know of any that are enteric coated that have adequate cell count. I think at this point that most of that is gimmick to market something, but that's my opinion. So.
I would have to concur. Some of the big names. I just think again it's a numbers game. You want a good product that has some reputation. Again, that's why it's great. Take advantage of Terry. Take advantage of Madison Drug. They got a whole selection out there, and you want a product that has very good high numbers. And sometimes taking it with a meal can be helpful because the meal will act as a natural buffer to stomach acid and may help increase the longevity of the bacteria through the GI tract.
You mentioned VSL-3 has a double strength option that's available through prescription.
Through prescription, so you can get your stinking insurance company. Did I? I didn't say that, did I? We didn't get me on film. I'll be have a Blue Cross hitman come after me. But yeah, get your insurance company to pay for it. What the heck? You pay enough in premiums.
How much apple cider vinegar?
Just about a tablespoon, and if that's too much, you may want to start off with a teaspoon. As I say, go low and go slow. I mean, I'm a vinegar freak. I grew up, in an Italian family. I'll take a good balsamic vinegar, and I may drink it out of the bottle. My wife thinks there's something wrong with me, but some people just don't like that vinegary taste. So
Yeah.
if you need to, start off with a little lower dose and try to work yourself up to a tablespoon. Anything else?